I am really bad about taking lessons in Japanese. I get a ton of reading and listening practice, just, working at Native Shark and doing stuff that I enjoy. The last few years, really, I haven't gotten much speaking practice. So I figured I'll schedule a lesson with a tutor, and I have not done much of that either in the last few years. Why not do it now? So what I did was I just went on italki. You can go on whatever language tutor matching app you like, and I just picked a random teacher and I scheduled a lesson. I did this last night when I was in bed, and now it's the morning and I'm running late and I have had no time to prepare what I'm going to talk about or do. I'm preparing for it to be an all-around disaster, like most first lessons. So wish me luck. I did it. And that was actually not a disaster. That was a lot of fun. I should take lessons more often. And I feel that this happens a lot. I build up taking lessons into this big thing in my head that I have to, have like detailed plan and a schedule figured out. I need to know how it's going to work all ahead of time. But really, I could just schedule a random lesson with a teacher and I might find that I really like that teacher and they're good at teaching. And then I can just check another day on the schedule when I'm available and it seems like they are available too, or maybe a different teacher, ideally the same exact time of day. I'm doing it in the morning right before I start work, and maybe it's doable long term, and I don't know if that's the case, but I can conduct an experiment to see if that is the case. In the lesson I took, that was a couple days ago now, I learned a cool new idiom, so I thought I would share it with you. I was talking to the tutor, this lovely sensei who lives in London. She was asking me what was, the key to me getting as good as I have gotten at Japanese, and I told her just finding a way to be consistent and study day after day, week after week, year after year. She responded with this pretty cool idiom, keizoku wa chikara nari. So keizoku is continuation, like continuing to do something. Wa is topic marking particle, and then chikara is power or strength, and nari is becoming. So continuation becomes power. So maybe like we could say persistence pays off. So naturally, what I then went and did was try to find some native materials that contain this idiom. And I found this video where they're explaining a book in like a manga format in the video. And this sentence was in the first minute of the video. So I'll play it for you.
継続は力なりという言葉もある通り、私たちは今までの人生で何を継続してきたのかが最終的に大きな差になることが多い。
So where did this phrase, 継続は力なり, and then she says, という言葉. So という is just like quoting what came before it. So it's quoting the phrase that she just said. And then 言葉 is word. Mo means like also. And then aru is there is or exists. Tori is like exactly in that way. So in other words, she's saying, just like the phrase, 継続は力なり. So maybe we say like the saying goes, persistence pays or something like that. And then she says, 私たちは今までの人生で何を継続してきたのかが最終的に大きな差になることが多い. So that's a long sentence, right? A long phrase. So let's just take it one word at a time. 私たち is we, and then は is again a topic marking particle. 今 is now, まで is until, so 今まで is until now. の is the possessive particle. So she says no 人生, so like 人生 is life. And で is, you can think of it as meaning at or at this point. So 私たちは今までの人生で means like in our lives up until now is what that literally means. That's not how I'm going to translate it in the sentence as a whole, but we'll get to that later. And then she says, 何を継続してきたのか. So what o is object marking particle. And then we have 継続 again, continuation. And here it's being used as a suru verb. So 継続する. Yeah, what's the matter?
Couldn't took the toy I had.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Where were we? Oh yeah. 何を継続してきたのか. So 継続する is being used as a suru verb here because you can put suru after some nouns and to make them into verbs, and 継続 is one such noun. So 継続する means to continue, and in this case it's in the te form. So 継続して, specifically it's てくる, in this case てきた, so like to do up until now. 継続して継続してきた, so like continued up until now. のか is like, so no is making that whole thing into a noun phrase. 何を継続したの? What is being continued, and then か is a question marking particle. So 何を継続してきたのか is like what was continued. か is subject marking particle or pointer particle. You can imagine that it's even sort of putting emphasis on what came before it, not after it. Wa puts emphasis on what comes after it. So, and what came before it is what was continued up until now in your life. And that ga 最終的に大きな差になることが多い. So, 最終的 is like in the end, finally, ultimately. に is just making, so 最終的 is an adjective. You put に after it and it becomes 最終的に, which is an adverb. 大きな is a way to say big. 差になる. I actually didn't know this phrase either. I think I've heard it before, but I never really noticed it until now. So 差 is like a difference. So 差になる, and になる is become, to become. So literally becomes a difference. And it translates nicely into make a difference in English. こと is making that into a noun. Yeah, 差になること, making a difference. が, again, we have subject marking particle. And then 多い, many. So that last part is something like, in the end, there are many cases that it makes a big difference. And I was trying to translate the sentence as a whole at first, and I was having trouble because of this, 私たちは今までの人生で. It made me want to translate the whole thing as something like the saying goes, persistence pays. In our lives to date, what often made the biggest difference in the end was whether or not we stuck with something. And I was talking today, my wife, I was like, do you think that translation's okay? And she didn't like this in our lives to date part. She thought it sounded over exaggerated in English compared to the Japanese. And we went back and forth a little bit. And in the end, what we came to was we decided to translate it as, like the saying goes, persistence pays in life. So that whole part, we just, 私たちは今までの人生で up in our lives up until now, we changed to just in life in the English translation. In life, what often makes the biggest difference in the end is whether or not you stuck with something.
継続は力なりという言葉もある通り、私たちは今までの人生で何を継続してきたのかが最終的に大きな差になることが多い。
And I don't think I'm ever going to forget this idiom because the teacher used it 2 or 3 times in our conversation, and now I've actually talked about it to you, and I found a real world, I found a native material context in which it's used. So I think I'm going to remember this phrase, and I hope that you do too. And I've scheduled another lesson, this time with the same teacher. A lot of times I switch teachers every lesson, and we'll see how it goes. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself. I'm just going to try to show up consistently, and we'll just see what happens. And maybe the teacher will have ideas of stuff we can do because that's their job to figure out. I'm not going to worry about what's effective or efficient that much in a lesson. I'm just going to try to have some thoughts in my head and put them in Japanese out into the world and have another person understand them and maybe tell me when I'm saying something a little bit strange. But the last thing I'll mention is that, maybe you're still a beginner and you don't feel comfortable taking lessons. I get that. And I don't think you have to take them right away if you're a beginner and you're uncomfortable. And I know a lot of language learning experts sort of push you to take a lesson, to talk to a native speaker from day one. I don't like to do that. So I'm not going to tell you to do it. I don't really do things I don't like to do when I'm studying a language, especially one like Japanese, because I'm in it for the long haul. So I got to figure out something sustainable for me. Whatever you do decide to do, good luck. And if you want to build up your comprehension of the language to a level where you feel more comfortable taking your first lesson, well, I do hope that you will go to Native Shark because I think it's the best way to do that. And I'm dedicating most of my adult life to make that the case, along with some pretty awesome other educators. Thank you for your time. Good luck.
この番組はフューチャーラーニングメソッドネイティブシャークがお送りしました。